I don't have notes yet, but I might really fast.
Hey everyone, this is Philip Ryan Block, and we are back with another episode of the Open Heart Collective. Tonight, I'm really excited about tonight's episode because tonight I have my dear friend Toni Blackman joining me for this. And Toni and I have been working together for a little while now, and her story has always compelled me, so I figured that it would offer a lot of insights and knowledge for those of you who routinely watch/listen to this content series. So that being said, Toni, introduce yourself.
Well, I am Toni Blackman. I am an artist and a social entrepreneur, and one of the first official cultural ambassador for hip hop. I'm a global ambassador for hip hop. I do a lot of work with the State Department, with embassies in different countries, as well as a lot of arts programs. And
nice.
I love hip hop. Everything I do is hip hop.
It is.
Education, diplomacy, meditation, you name it. I'm a hip hop chick.
Awesome. Well, so for those of you guys, again, who have not caught one of these episodes before, don't know what the Open Heart Collective is, because I'm sure, because of Toni joining us today, that a lot more people are going to hear about what this is and the meaning behind it. So I want to share that with you guys right off the bat. So we're in a culture right now that's all about be hustling, always doing stuff, eternally on the offense, all those buzzwords that you guys see and hear on social media and the news and everything right now. But one of the things that we are as a culture not on the offense about, one of the things that we are not proactive about, is our own mental health and the mental health of the community and the people that surround us. So that being said, I got tired of waking up and reading the news that we lose people. I got tired of waking up and opening Facebook and seeing that this happened, but it all happened because for so long now, mental health has been this taboo word that we're not supposed to talk about. We're not supposed to talk about how we feel on the inside, because that makes us vulnerable. And vulnerability equals weakness. And I want to change that. And the only way that I know how to change that is to create content with incredible people, with incredible stories, because the entire message and mission of the Open Heart Collective is my story may not resonate with you guys or lay an impact in one of your worlds, but your story will help someone else. So that being said, Toni, give us your story.
My story is one that I started in a small town in Pittsburgh, California, area, and I was a little girl. I always remind myself this gratitude thing stays in my head, because I remember being 9 and begging my mother, Mommy, can we please move to New York? Can we please move to New York? Like, I was very clear about where I was going. And then since New York was too far with these codes, I said, okay, let's go to LA. And what I love is that now my mother always says, I should have listened to you. And I was like, yeah, Mom, maybe you should have listened. But I ended up, I was ready to go. I had a dream of seeing the world. I ended up seeing the world. I went to college in DC, where I did my BM and MA. It was a long, windy road, not the easiest, kind of bittersweet. But in the end, it was one of the best things I ever did. I'm a graduate of Howard University twice, and I feel grateful to be where I am in life. I've been to 44 different countries, and I'm an entrepreneur in my gut and in my soul, a social entrepreneur, more so than an entrepreneur, because I'm just now learning how to monetize. But the beauty, I have some wonderful mentors and guides in my life right now, and so I feel very fortunate to be so light and to be so joy-filled and to be manifesting so much of what I wanted to create in my life.
Right. Awesome. I mean, you said one thing at the very beginning of that caught me, and now I'm not remembering what it is. The joys of live video, ladies and gentlemen. You don't always remember the notes. And as you guys know, I literally take no notes. I have no notepad sitting in front of me. I have the computer screen, the light, and water. Anyways, like I said in the introduction, I've known you for a while now. I'm honored and blessed to be able to work with you pretty much on a daily basis. And one of the things about your story that has always compelled me, and more so in the recent months, has been your ability to persevere. I mean, you've gone through, I mean, you spoke to me a while ago about last year you were sick, and everything is now is like just coming to fruition for you. And I want to know, or I want the people to hear a little bit more about the backstory. So it's not always been the moments of success and gratitude that we're feeling and seeing right now. So let's talk a little bit about the dark.
Yeah, I'm on a high right now because I got like 3 pieces of good news in one day, 2 pieces of good news yesterday, and they're all destiny fulfilling steps. And so I'm on a high right now, but let's just say I felt like I was in a 10-year storm, maybe 8 to 10-year storm. And the storm was that of a woman who was overworking, overcommitting, overstretched, trying to save the world, trying to save hip hop, and neglecting herself. You know, I was in 2 very toxic relationships, one more abusive than the other. One with a fellow artist who I was creating with, the other with a man who was supposed to be my manager. And I shifted from that, and it was like one thing after another. I kept creating because I don't know to do anything else. So I got slowed down, but energetically, I didn't really lose much momentum. It just looked like I was losing momentum.
Right.
And I was in a creative partnership for a few years with the producer. I had this idealistic dream vision, right? That my life partner was going to be my creative partner, and we were going to do these things and travel the world. And I held on to that vision too tight because sometimes what we think we're supposed to have is going to look different than what we think. We find ourselves in some very precarious and or painful positions because we
both.
Or both. Because we can't let go. And I finally let go. And I'm very good friends with my very first love. And we talk periodically. And he just called out of the blue. And he says, you know, I'm listening to you. And this frustration thing, it seems to be like a theme. Why are you always frustrated? The past year, you're just frustrated. And I said, why am I frustrated? Am I frustrated? I'm joyful Toni. And then I hung up. I'm frustrated. And one of the other things he said on that call, it was my birthday, which is a very spiritual time for a lot of folks. Even those of us, like I'm not a party girl, but the party in my spirit and in my mind is very big because I'm alive. And so you need to make a radical shift. So I said, I'm going to make a radical shift. So the radical shift was that I was going to relocate to Africa, West Africa, Senegal to be specific. And I was also going to find a home base in Europe, either somewhere in Berlin or Belgium or France. So I was going to find these spaces. And I was driven. And then all of a sudden, 2 months later, I had crashed. I caught the flu, which I don't do. I mean, I'm the green juice queen. And I have all my nutrients and vitamins. And I knew something was wrong when I caught the flu because it felt like a bad flu. And I was at a residency. It was disrupting my work. I had a performance. I had a lecture. I had a presentation. And then Human, an MC and a singer from Senegal, who was also an entrepreneur, he set up this opportunity for me at this university. And there I was, sick. I mean, really sick. That flu lasted 3 weeks. And then I had severe acid reflux for 5 weeks. I couldn't sleep laying down. Then my feet and ankles swelled up. And then I had eczema. And it was like 20 things were happening. And then the fibroid tumor started to hemorrhage. And I kept my vacation set, and my work vacation, but I decided to have a break. I took a month off for the first time in my life of no work month. Yeah, I'm a woman that I'll go to Brazil for vacation, but I'll be teaching children. I'll be performing.
You'll be performing. You'll be connecting. You'll be building relationships. You'll be networking.
I'll be volunteering. And before you know it, I've designed a new program. It was none of that. I slept for 2 weeks. I ate watermelons, pastek, and papaya, and water, and fresh fish, and ground acheque, ground cassava couscous, cassava couscous. One of my favorite things to eat in the world. And I cleaned myself out. I bought a juicer that was compatible with the French electricity. And parsley and cucumbers and apples every day, and I got better. And so then I knew that, whatever is wrong with me, it's healable. And I decided to have surgery for the fibroid tumors, and then so things got worse because I decided that, and I ended up having to move out of my apartment because I lost everything. I had to stop working, and I could barely walk 5 blocks to the subway I had severe anemia too. And home to California, and I was there for a month and realized that's not where I'm supposed to be. And then my insurance got approved and my surgery got approved in New York, but I had already subleased my apartment, so I had nowhere to live. And so I came back, and Airbnb used up all the money I had raised through my GoFundMe in housing. And a mentor, Steve, one of my mentors, closest mentors, is an arts mentor, Steve, at City Law Foundation. Him and his wife were going on holiday and said, "Come to our house in Hastings on Hudson." And so I was there outside of the city, and it just ended up being a healing retreat.
Right.
When you get clear about where it is you're going and what you want to do, if you surrender, it all kind of works itself out. A friend of mine came to visit, and when he left, he touched my hand like this. He left me a large amount of cash, like out the blue. And then a woman in the arts who's a friend, she had access to housing. So I was able to stay in this housing at the discounted rate for a short period of time, and then my transition. And then a friend helped with my GoFundMe, and it wasn't enough money to sustain myself, but it was enough to get through the transition of me. The mental health is what I needed that day.
Right.
And I had surgery. I got rejected from both jobs I thought I was going to get, and those didn't come through. And then the year started, and I decided that I was going to be obedient to whatever divine order had in store for me, because my doings weren't working. Spices, I'll be stuck somewhere following all the rules. A couple of friends told me, you need an anchor to hold you down. You need to do this. You need to do that. I tried it. I did mock interviews. I got resume review critiques. I did this. I did that. Nothing was working. Even some of the programs I taught in hadn't caught me back. So then I woke up one day very clear, and I said, what am I supposed to do? And then I got a call to perform in another country. Out crying, I got an email to perform in another country. And then I met the folks over at Kristen and Reggie at Basquiat Spotto, and then I started doing stuff there, and I found a creative home for me close to home here in Brooklyn. And it's just one thing led to another, and then my friend Kwame, who's a successful author, his agent introduced me to a friend of hers who she thought would be the right agent for me for my book.
Right.
Then I met the folks from this label. Ray Archie says, "Yo, we've got an opportunity for you." And it's an independent situation. I give it to my lawyer. My lawyer is like, "Yo, this is a good situation."
Right.
And it was another after another after another. And I had gotten a number of rejections for fellowships, residencies, many things I was invited to apply for, which I knew was God. I said, okay, God, you're doing something I don't understand here. Because I didn't seek this opportunity out. It came to me and I'm not getting it.
Right.
And now I understand months later, 6 months later, I now know why.
Right.
And because I needed time and space to let go of a lot of hang-ups.
Mm-hmm.
I want time and space to get clear. It's this thing, Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer used to do this talk. I started on PBS, and then I had the recording, and it's how to get what you really, 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 really want. Like, you have to say really 4 times. How to get what you really, 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 really want. And so then I dug deep, and I said, you know what? I have this impressive resume. I have credentials, even acknowledgments and awards, but is that what I really, 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 really want? So there were pieces of it what I want, but it wasn't what I really, 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 really want. And
Right.
now I'm doing that. Yeah.
Like, again, constant inspiration. I mean, I knew most of that already. So, I mean, I kind of had an insider edge to this, but it's incredible what happens when you put your mind towards not just positivity, but the willingness to persevere through. So, I mean, you were ill. I mean, multiple illnesses back to back to back to back to back, surgery. I mean, financial troubles, all this other stuff. Yeah. And somehow, the one thing that you always knew is that you had to trust yourself. Yeah. And know that when your intuition tells you something, that you have to follow it. And I think a lot of people, I mean, I struggled with a lot of that too. Like, okay, building a record label, not the easiest job in the world, right? Because, I mean, the music business doesn't pay like a 9-to-5 job pays. I mean, we all know that, right? But it's your ability to observe when opportunities present themselves, and those opportunities are what is needed, whether it be permanently or in that moment in time. That's the bridge to help get you to where you need to be. And that's where people lose it. Like, a lot of people are like, I don't want to go get a job, right? None of us really want jobs. Let's be honest. We want to do what's in our heart and nothing more. We want to be able to produce an income from what's in our heart and nothing more. So I would be correct about that. But so many of us fail in that because we put so much attention around the paycheck that we lose what's in our heart. And that's the one thing about your story that's always compelled me, is you never really lost it. Right? It might have dimmed, it might have gotten covered up with things, but it was still there.
Yeah. No. Yeah, and I was also very clear that I think some of us are cut out to do what we're supposed to do, and we don't have the option to work as a bank. It's not an option. And I wish I were cut out to be able to 9 to 5 it over here in the meantime.
Right.
There makes my stomach sick. You know what I mean? And it's because I remember being in high school. And this is why I'm so passionate when parents tell me about their child and their child's challenges or genius and their gift. And I'm very passionate in those discussions about the parents figuring out ways to liberate their child. Because I remember in middle school and high school in class sometimes, and my eyes watering with boredom. Like, literally just my eyes watering. And my arms and my belly, like, feeling like, when is this over? The pain of it. And I had the discipline to sit there. It didn't mean I was always learning.
Right.
I was smart. Sometimes being smart, it keeps you from working hard. Because you can get over. Like, I learned certain things, but I didn't learn them. I learned
right.
But I never internalized the learning. And so I was able to get over. And now I'm paying for it, as I have to now learn how to write for real. But yeah, I give thanks for my clarity and I give thanks for courage. I remember I did an interview with the Protege podcast with Rory Barrett, and I remember him asking me the question. So everyone has a secret, a theme, a strategy for the trajectory of their career. And he was like, what was yours? And I was like, faith. And no, I said, I don't know. I said, I think I explained something. And he said, so are you trying to tell me that yours was faith? And I was like, it was faith. Mm-hmm. He's like, what do you do? I said, I ask, what should I do? He's like, who are you asking? I said, God, the universe, Most High, whatever you want to call it. I'm asking. Right. And then he's like, what do you do next? I said, I do what I'm told, no matter how crazy it sounds to other people. And then if it's very logical, it usually is not meant for me.
Right.
I've accepted that as well. And it's not a straight path.
It never is.
I know, but some people want that straight path, and they take it, and they make the sacrifice for security.
But even that straight path. So let's talk about that straight path for a minute. There is no such thing in this world when it comes to finances or jobs about security, right? Because you could walk into that bank that you referenced a few minutes ago on Monday, Tuesday morning, it could be shut down, right? Or it gets burned down, or you get fired because of some bureaucratic bullshit. By the way, you can curse openly on this show. Not that you do, but I'm just saying, if you feel so inclined, there is no such thing as a straight line. There's no such thing as security when it comes to living in this world. The only thing that you can be secure about is trusting yourself and your own intuition. And if you trust yourself, obviously by proxy, you're going to start trusting everybody else. But if you don't trust yourself first, that's where everything stems from. It's not the person down the road, it's you. And with us being like social media people, right? Like we're always trying to connect, but we put so much stock in other people rather than giving a shit about what we care, what we feel about ourselves or our own security and what we're doing. Yeah. And yeah, so I had to throw that little anecdote out there about security. I don't think it exists.
Yeah, it's true. I agree.
I mean, if the presidents of countries can get fired, job security doesn't exist.
Yeah.
If leaders can be overthrown, security doesn't really exist.
Yeah, and I guess, and if you tie in the idea that tomorrow's not guaranteed,
right.
Nothing, we don't know what's going to happen next. The only moment we can control is right now. I mean, those are all facts of life, and there's only there's the one known. It's really death. Is the only known.
And taxes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and I've learned that the path you're supposed to take is not always the easiest one. And
it's not.
And it sometimes confuses folks because they wonder why you're doing that. Why are you doing that? I have a dear friend, he's one of my business advisors, my old friend I mentioned, who told me to make a radical shift. And I think we had a conflict based on his desire to see me have an easier life. Mm-hmm. But he is a person who works for the same company since like 1989. And I don't know anyone else in my generation who's done that and in the same field.
Right.
Moved up, which is so different from what it means, one, to be an artist, and two, to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
But there's the frustration of, from the outside looking in, loved ones who perceive, I guess what they see as my smarts or my skill and what I, quote, should be doing. Mm-hmm. And for me, I know if I should be doing that, I'd already be doing it because of how my life works. And right. I'm doing a lot right now. It sounds crazy to a lot of people if I say the good news And so I've learned to shut up. It took me 4 decades to learn how to just shut up. The rest of the people don't care. Then the other people who are upset by it. Then there are the people who think you're showing off. And so then it just comes down to this small group of people. So I've learned I have a good news list. This is who
I'm blessed to be on that list, by the way. Incredibly blessed to be on that list.
So I've learned, I talk too much. One of my things, I talk too much. I'm learning to talk a little less, be quiet, which is one of the principles I've been learning from being more mindful, being more present. It's just one of the things I learned during my burnout period was how to be quiet. I spent a lot of time by myself. And I've always been able to do that as a Virgo, creative child. I enjoy my own company.
Right.
But the last 2 years, I spent a lot of time by myself. And I started to get a little nervous because I was enjoying it too much. But I'm back into the world. I'm in a new phase. And but I still have moments where I'm an extroverted introvert. And there are a lot of us that exist on this planet. We're acknowledging ourselves now. I can be one extreme or the other. Mm-hmm. And then also I'm like this sensitive creative. Some days I feel everything. And some days my heart is wide open and people flock to the energy. And it can be overwhelming. And I also think sometimes my mind is tired because I do too much. Still do too much. I feel like I'm in recovery from my own life. I was telling my little sister, I was like, Coco, I am in recovery from my own life. So I'm learning to be who I want to be and how I want to be, and accepting that it's okay to not be there yet.
Right.
So in just being, I'm going to be there one day, but I'm not there yet. But if I can just be, I'll have some sort of peace.
Right. So let's talk about your work in mindfulness and meditation, because I think, one, I know that's something that I've been putting a lot of energy into myself, or working towards putting a lot of energy into myself, because it fits really well in a lot of the narrative that we've been talking about self-awareness, about the ability to balance, about focusing on what needs to be focused on, about health. I mean, it hits all of those things. So that being said, what is mindfulness for you? How do you practice it on a daily basis? What are some of those insights that people listening or watching this could maybe really start to try and retain information from, for implication into their own life? You know what I mean?
I know for me, mindfulness is about being present, and it's about paying attention. And we can think we're present and not be present at all, not be present at all. We can go through our day, go to work, brush our teeth, pick up our kids, or, babysit your niece, and not be present at all. Mm-hmm. We can forget things, not notice things that are obvious to others. And so for me, mindfulness is about being in a space where we are present to how we impact others, to what we're taking in. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes we can go through the day and be in the midst of chaos and not even realize we're absorbing it. Some folks who are addicted to television, you're watching all of these movies, not realizing these are the reality shows, not realizing how they're affecting your mindset.
Or addicted to this.
Are addicted to this thing right here and can't put it down, can't sleep without it.
By the way, this thing right here, for those of you guys who are listening to this and not watching it, we held up our phones. I keep forgetting that this goes to audio, and the audio people are like, I don't know what you're talking about right now.
Okay. Yeah. I think so. I do a lot of the meditation I do is mindfulness meditation. and just being so that I can be present to what I'm feeling. So
Right.
that I take over my life. And I think for many years, I would take everything I'm thinking about and think about it at once. And then everything would collapse.
Uh-huh.
And I wonder why I was stuck. And so being able to break that habit, getting support. I just started I saw a therapist once in my life before, in 2006, and I'm seeing an actual therapist now, Dr. Michelle Owens, and that has been helpful for me in terms of being able to be present to what's stopping me.
Right.
Like throughout my career, I've done some pretty amazing things, but never gone beyond that verge. Like I've had some huge opportunities, been in really powerful spaces with influential people, yet not been able to get over that. And so one of the things I had to do was let go of the shame of that, and to be able to acknowledge the beauty of what I have accomplished, the beauty of what I have been gifted, and to really admire my experiences.
Right.
The things that I've given birth to, that I've put out into the world. And so in doing that, I've been able to come back center, own that, because guess what? There are a lot of people like me who feel the same exact way.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I share this publicly, I have people coming up to me saying, me too, me too, me too, me too. And so sharing has been a part of my healing as well. And it's allowed me to understand that me being mindful helps to impact the world around me.
Right.
And so I started, I was I did 6 months of building my flow with the man I was dating at the time, who was also I was working with him as a producer. And so we're hip hop heads. So what do hip hop heads do? They sit on the couch and sip lemonade and freestyle. You know what I mean?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So he helped me start to develop my flow again and get my flow back, because I had been doing so much spoken word. And then we started recording, and instead of rapping, I was talking. And in the talking, I started to talk about what I'm going through and the things that I'm thinking. And then it was a couple tracks from him, and then I reached out to my friend Munir, who I went to Howard with. He's a trumpeter, and his dad was a famous jazz musician. He sent me a track. And then Yohembe from Game Rebellion, Meridian Lights, he sent me some tracks. And then, when I Charles Burchell, who I work with, one of my artists I've mentored, and I just put all this music together. And then I spent a lot of time in Roanoke, Virginia. I was doing artist residencies at Jefferson Center for the Arts. I'm not doing that anymore, but Dylan Locke was bringing me down, and I met loads of really dope musicians.
Right.
And so I had all of this music. So I just started to record. So I had choruses, and then my creative partner at the time, he was like, okay, do a chorus and rap, then talk. And so then I started to do this, and then I started to play with it more. And then I started to write more lyrics, and it started to synergize. And I did a guided meditation. My friend Dara at Sacred Brooklyn had created an opportunity that I didn't feel authentic enough yet, to push it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're going to profess to talk about mindfulness, you yourself should be mindful. You're going to preach centeredness, you should be centered. And so it's taken me some time to really heal myself in my own life to get where I can authentically sit here and encourage someone else, and to feel like I am in a space to do so because I'm practicing what I preach. And so I started recording guided meditations, affirmation meditations, which are my favorite because the affirmation meditations are basically mindfulness meditations. How you want to feel, what kind of thoughts you want in your mind, and then inspirational songs and motivational songs. And to letting go of my fear of, there was a part of hip hop where, if you were too positive, you were corny. You know, you can't be too positive. And this happens, it's not just hip hop, it's pop music, it's
everywhere.
Everywhere. And the shadow of the world, you know, particularly the Western world, that folks like to live in the shadow. But the shadow is where the joy is. The shadow is not where the true abundance is. And the true abundance is in the light. And so how do I apologetically speak to the light, speak on the light, and then spread the light in the world? I'm here. Ms. Blackman is in the building to do just that, and to do it unapologetically as I learn how to unconditionally love myself on a deeper level. And I'm having fun again.
You are, and I can attest to the fun that you're having right now, because when we speak, it's always not always positive, but it's always I can either see or hear that smile, and I mean the smile is indicative of having fun. So I mean you're not smiling just to smile; it's because the energy in you knows nothing else other than to smile. And I mean, I hope people paid close attention to that part, because I mean, mindfulness is important. Being present in who you are, who you're with, that is just so important. Because when you're able to have that, everything else tends to balance out. The insecurities, those doubts, those I wonder what, like, they just all go away. And then you know without a shadow of a doubt that what you're doing, who you're doing it with, where you're doing it, all is what's supposed to be happening. And I think so many people don't think about it from that perspective. That, okay, well, what's supposed to be happening is oftentimes not what you want to happen. It's what is needed to get you, it's what's needed. And sometimes it might not always be fun, but you got to make fun with it and live in it rather than being just a robot. And I think everybody knows what I mean by robot.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we get caught into the rut of doing what we think we're supposed to do, or we can get caught into the rut of complaining.
Which is worse.
Because there's a lot wrong. And so we think we're supposed to talk about that. And meanwhile, solutions pass us by and joyful moments pass us by. It's like we can fight the power without being pissed off at it all the time.
Right.
To read a poem and to share mint julep tea with a dear friend, to dance with your nieces and nephews in the rain. There's space and time and energy for that. And I think it's critically important, particularly in the time that we're living in, where there's a new crisis every day. And the news can be so oppressive.
That's why I pay attention to it.
It stop you from breathing. And how do we own our right to exist? How do we own our right to be here and own the right to be fucking happy?
Amen to that.
Right. And so, and I'm excited about moving to this space, because for me, and I know there are a lot of people like me, because I spent the year sharing my stuff on Facebook when I was going through my burnout recovery. But like me, anger literally will make me sick if I spend too many days angry. My immune system breaks down. I'm gonna have a cold within a week, or I'm gonna have.
I've noticed that about myself too.
Or I'm gonna have a boil is gonna come up. I'm gonna have a breakout. Like it just really hits me in. It's so obvious, just like so many literal ways. And so I've been learning to manage my emotions. Not because I'm a smart person or a strong person or a disciplined person, but because I don't like itching. Because I don't like being. So I want to feel good. I want to feel good. And
everybody does.
Yeah. I have a right to feel good, regardless of my circumstances.
Right.
a right to feel good.
Right. So, I could probably do like 3 of these hour-long episodes and we'd still only be scratching at the surface. But having gone through a lot of those difficult times myself, a lot of not trusting in myself, a lot of allowing myself to succumb to anger, knowing everything that we just kind of touched on about knowing when to relinquish control and when to have it, or knowing when to hold it and when to not. That's been part of my mindfulness journey, because if I just, rather than allowing the anger to control myself, I control my anger. And because the anger is also passion, because it's just energy redirected. So for me, that's what it's been a lot of. It's because I'm not an angry person like you. I'm not a negative person like you said. But I don't allow myself to like succumb to hate. And it's what I was talking about with Catherine Hoxie a couple of weeks ago in the episode. I think it was episode, I don't remember the number now. But the allowing myself to feel it, but then moving through. But also I'm just so focused on what makes me happy and how I can create impact with what makes me happy. And I love these conversations. I love being able to sit down and talk to a friend for an hour and not be really distracted by the outside world, other than my daughter coming down and peeking her head in my office, which is why about 15 minutes ago you guys saw me look off camera, because I'm like, shh. It wouldn't be the first live stream they interrupted though, but it's when our mental health journeys are all different. We don't all face the same things, or if we're facing the same things, we handle it differently. So what's been, obviously mindfulness and meditation has been a big facilitator in your ability to balance. What else? I mean, what are those little things those little daily affirmations, or how do you, when you start down, let's say you wake up and you miss the train, like what is your mental tool that you use to not go down the momentum path towards negativity? Because I think for a lot of us, we're good most days, but then when it's a bad day, it's a bad day. And we allow that bad day to echo into a bad week, into a bad month, into a bad year. So for you, what's been those ways to avoid that?
For me, it was an ongoing battle.
Right. And it's going to be.
It took me, I'm in a new space now. A lot of this stuff. I think getting sick for some people, I won't say everybody, because I know some people who've overcome serious illnesses and they're still mean as hell. For a lot of people, illness, being incapacitated for any length of time can shift you. Mm-hmm. And I lost a lot of people I know. A lot of classmates died. A lot of people in hip hop died. A lot of elders died. And what it did was, and while I was sick, what it did was it shifted me to where certain things don't matter anymore. Mm-hmm. I think I still battle with worry and anxiety sometimes about stuff that I got to do, but the other stuff, the sadness lasts about 10 minutes, but I know it took me, I was present to it for about 10 or 12 years. It took me a long time to deprogram the habit. And I think for 8 years consistently, I started to acknowledge my energy, acknowledge my feeling. And then I remember working with an energy healer about 6 or 7 years ago, she brought to my attention that I wasn't feeling all of my feelings. And this was from years of people telling me I was feeling too much. So I said, oh, let me tone that down.
Right.
So I started to feel all of my feelings again, and to not judge them and to just let them be. But for years, one of my little sisters is going through some stuff, and we had this chat about, and I said, you got to talk to yourself.
Right.
I just did a graduation speech at Bronx Prep High School, and that's one of the things I said. People talking about to yourself as if it's a negative thing. No, you got to talk to yourself. And
sometimes you have to talk at yourself because the other side of yourself doesn't fucking listen.
Exactly, and because you can't believe all the thoughts you're thinking, so you got to come at it. But I talk to myself, and so for me, I had to deprogram myself in the same way someone who might be addicted to a substance had to deprogram from using the substance. I had to deprogram from using my mind in that way. And so I fed my mind almost every day for at least a decade. I fed my mind positive content. Like I'm listening to something uplifting for at least an hour. Sometimes there was a few years where I was listening to stuff 3 hours a day.
Wow.
Through the day. And it was that space where I knew I was fighting something. And it was weird to talk about with anyone because it wasn't anything. Like, well, what's wrong?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What are you doing? I don't know. So I thought maybe cleansing, detoxing, exercising. I did all this stuff, all the right stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I read the book. But I literally had to coach myself, push myself. I did life coaching programs. I did Landmark. I did this. And at the end of the day, there were two things going on. I had to do energy healing in terms of making an energetic shift and pressing the right buttons and turning certain switches off. And I needed someone to guide me through that. And then once I was able to do that work, now I'm with, now I can do the therapy.
Right.
And so now the therapist, I feel like she's like, oh, we're going to need a few months. So I feel like, by September, October, I will have had the breakthrough I need in this area of life.
Right.
And, go time and for a while until I need to come back in and go within and do more stuff. But I've done an extensive amount of excavation, like peeling the layers of the onion. And here's the thing. Sometimes we think because we don't have obvious trauma, like you weren't molested, your parents didn't beat you, you never went to bed hungry, because you don't have that trauma, you think that you don't have trauma.
Right.
And
or you think that, and then you're like, oh, my life was so traumatic, but then you meet somebody who did face the abuse, the alcohol, the all of the stuff that you're like, man, my life is horrible. And you grew up in a 3-bedroom house with you fed every night, every day. Like you had new shoes on your feet, granted, or it might be hand-me-down shoes, but you never went without. And that was what it was for me, because I was severely depressed for a long time. And then I got connected to some individuals who honestly were a major inspiration to me creating the original iteration of the Open Heart Collective several years ago, because they would share with me their story and then I would just internalize it. And then, of course, each and every one of them are making me. And that was the child interrupting. Okay, I'll be up in a few. The joys of live video, ladies and gentlemen. And then your 7-year-old daughter comes in and interrupts. Anyways, so for me, it was the realization that mine wasn't that bad, or wasn't as bad as it could have been. But for me, it was still bad. And then the ability to help them through their darkness only strengthened me.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And I think for me as a creative, I meet younger creatives, and in me sharing, they share, like when I do colleges, because they're old enough to be able to acknowledge and understand certain things.
Right.
But there's some of us artists who not being allowed to create or not having access to the resources and tools to create can damage us emotionally. Because we have to create to be sane and to feel stable and to feel whole. And
that's why I work so much.
Yeah. Well, my mind kind of, and
I think you've heard me say this before. The only reason why I work so much is because if I sit still, the darkness comes, and for me, the darkness is not a good place. Because that's where the doubt, the insecurities, the fear, everything else happens. When I'm moving, nothing can damage me. I'm invincible.
Yeah.
I mean, I might get knocked back a couple of steps, but I just keep pushing.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
see, Toni, this is how quickly an hour can go by.
Yeah.
Right? And like I said, we're just scratching at the surface of this right now. But as everyone knows, this is how we break the stigma, ladies and gentlemen, is to talk about it. Vulnerability, this is not a weakness. Vulnerability is not a weakness. Telling your story and allowing yourself to feel and helping others through what they're going through is not a moment of weakness. It is a moment of strength. And trust me, I've gone through some dark ass shit in my day. I've said it in one of the other episodes, and we don't have enough time to go into it now, but I sat with the blades in my wrist. I know what it's like. So, and I know everybody out there who's going through this and is listening or has listened or will listen down the road, they're like, I'm alone. You're not. That's exactly why this community is being developed, because our voices are louder together than our voices are when we're apart. So we got to bring it in. We got to help each other, because that is the only way we wake up and we stop reading about this person we lost or this traumatic event happened where mental disorders were blamed or any sort of trauma happens, whether national news or in our own families or even within ourselves. This is the singular way that we move beyond those moments, is to talk about it. The only way. So that being said, my friends, if you yourself are a person who is struggling, find help. Literally, you can call me. This is how accessible I've made myself. My phone number is in my Instagram profile. You literally just have to go to my Instagram, which is, by the way, everywhere, always in the bottom of my videos, everywhere, and call me, right? Because oftentimes you don't want somebody to give you advice. You don't want somebody to tell you some rhetoric somebody's already told you. You simply want somebody to listen. Because when you get it out, you feel better. And that's how we can help. Now, that being said, teaming up with some amazing people right now, we're putting together an international resource for mental health. I don't know exactly when it's going to launch yet, because all of us that are working on this are insanely busy. But the one problem that I've noticed with mental health is there's no one real way to go to anywhere to find help, right? We Google it, but I want to create a resource that is for everybody who's struggling with it, regardless of where you are in the world. You can be in the United States, you can be in Senegal, you can be in Australia. I don't care. I want to find all of those resources and get them to you in one location so that you guys literally have one button to press to get to where you need to go. And honestly, I'm not going to stop talking about this, because this is my mission. The business shit is cool. This is my mission. Because when we can all do this, we can sleep better. We can interact with our loved ones better. We can treat ourselves better. Because, and Toni, you can attest to this, my friend, we are our own worst enemy and our own worst critic and our own pain in the ass. Nobody else can get to us more than us. And I don't want to see that anymore. I don't want to see us holding ourselves to such a high standard that we cannot fail, or if we fail, we're automatically a lower standard of a human being than the person next to us, right? I'm tired of seeing people compare themselves to other people. I'm sorry, I'm getting on a bit of a fucking soapbox right now, but I'm tired of seeing people compare themselves to other people on social media. Guess what? You don't live their life. They don't live yours. They didn't have the same struggles. You didn't have the same struggles as them. You don't have the same amount of money, the same team, whatever the case may be. But you got to make do with what you've got. What I've built, and I've had the pleasure of building over these last about 10 years of my life, I have built with my own 2 fucking hands. I've been broke most of this. Like, this is not like, I'm not some rich guy talking from a Madison Avenue fucking office right now. I'm literally talking to you from the basement of my house in a room that really doesn't even have flooring in it. It's just a cement floor. And I mean, and Toni's talking to you from her house. Like, we are real human beings trying to solve a real fucking crisis right now. And yeah, I'm off my soapbox now. Thank you for allowing me to be on my soapbox. The rants are necessary from time to time. That being said, Toni, my friend, I want you to share a little bit more with those who are listening now, after the fact, whomever, where they can connect with you. What's the best platform? What's the best way? I mean, if somebody wanted to get Toni Blackman's attention, how are they going to?
I guess nowadays Instagram, at Toni Blackman, ToniBlackman. To hit me on Instagram, direct message me on Instagram is probably the easiest and the quickest way for us to communicate. But I'm on Facebook and Twitter and on pretty regularly. And my email address is ToniBlackmanBooking@gmail.com.
Nice. And then, so Toni and I are working on something really cool. I'm excited to be a part of this journey with her. I'm blessed that she's a part of the Independent Ear family. But what I want to spend a moment on real quick is what we're going to be launching here in the next few weeks. It's going to come quick. At least the first episode will. But Toni, I want you to mention a little bit about the podcast real quick.
Okay, so the podcast is called Miss Blackman in the Building. And it's basically Miss Blackman in the building having the great conversations. I've been, especially since the burnout recovery, a lot of people share a lot of things with me. And I'm like, these are conversations that other people need to hear about, that other people need to be involved with. And so talking about health and wellness, talking about, like, one of my MCs, she's going on tour and people are saying, what about Jordan? What about Jordan? And it's one of my sister MCs from around like a girl. And she called me frustrated. She says, they would never ask a guy, what about Jordan? But because she's a mom, like, she's an irresponsible mom for going on tour for 2 weeks.
Right.
She's walked, so being able to have that dialogue, because there are a lot of women artists who are dealing with this same thing. And then talking with a couple of my guy friends about heartbreak, people assume, they forget that men hurt too.
Right.
And these are good, strong, healthy, mentally, emotionally well men who are processing disappointment.
Right.
Heartbreak.
Guys, by the way, to all of the guys that listen to this and watch this show, you can cry. It's okay. You can tell people that your day is a bad day. You're not weak.
Yes.
Let's again, another stigma that's got to be broken. Guys can cry. It's okay.
So the podcast is really addressing some of these little stigmas and it's like the undercurrent subject life matter that we don't deal with because it's not important enough.
Right.
Those things determine our joy, our happiness, our fulfillment, impact our relationships with others and ourselves.
Right. Awesome. So guys, look for more information on that coming very, very soon. We're diligently hard at work in creating at least the first episode so that you guys can take a listen and get involved, because again, just like with the Open Heart Collective, it's another massively important content series that's all around making the world a better place, leaving it a better place than when we got in it. And that being said, my friends, we're getting to the time and actually we've run about just an hour, so I'm really excited to where I end the video the same way I end every single video, with a little added twist, thanks to my good friend Catherine Hoxie. The way that I end it: be happy, is number 1. Have fun is number 2. Hustle hard is number 3. But there's no amount of hustle that's going to bring you happiness or fun. Think about it. And then make sure, especially to all of our musician friends and entrepreneur friends that are putting in the time, make sure to give yourself a moment to fucking breathe. Because when you breathe, everything falls into perspective and alignment, and it gets easier for a minute, because our life, the one that we've chosen, is not an easy one. So that being said, my friends, join me Friday at 6 p.m. for my episode number 22 of the Open Heart Collective with my special guest, Todd Frazier. Toni, thank you again for joining me. I'll have you stick around for one moment after we end this. Yeah. So I'll let you say your goodbye.
Me? Yeah. Oh, well, goodbye. I mean, goodbye. Good to see you. Good to meet you. See you next.
See you guys next.